Good afternoon. I'm Madeline Grolman.
I'm Betsy Vodwin, and this is the Voice of Duquesne Live. Now in sports. Last weekend, the Duquesne swimming and diving team competed in a tri-meet against Marshall and Bowling Green. The Dukes split the series, falling on opening day to Marshall before recovering to defeat Bowling Green. Duquesne recorded 4 first-place finishes, with wins in the 100-yard butterfly, 500 freestyle, 200-yard freestyle relay, and 1-meter dive. Notable competitors were sophomore Ashley Friel, who picked up a first and second place finish in her events, and sophomore Sierra Snow, who also earned a pair of medals with a first and third place finish. The Dukes' next competition will be this Friday at the Western PA Invitational.
On Monday, the men and women's tennis team traveled to the South Bend for games against Indiana and Western Michigan. Both teams went winless in their games, as the men's team suffered a 6-1 defeat to Notre Dame and a 5-0 loss to Western Michigan, and the women's team were shut out, losing 7-0 to Notre Dame. The teams will look to recover from their losses next week when they travel to Wexford to take on Colgate.
Last Friday, the track and field team competed in the YSU Collegiate Invite. 3 Dukes earned first-place honors, including Nadia Konstantakis, who broke the Duquesne pole vault record with a 3.78-meter jump, surpassing her own previous record. Other first-place finishers were sophomore Rose Kuchera on the long jump and freshman Sylvia Kashak on the 800-meter race. The Dukes will then travel to Ashland, Ohio to take part in the Ashland Invitational.
The Duquesne women's bowling team opened up their spring season this past weekend when they competed in the Northeast Classic in Delaware. The Dukes finished 14th out of 38 teams with a record of 6-7. Duquesne's slate of games featured a multitude of ranked teams such as number 4 Nebraska, who the Dukes took down, and number 1 Jacksonville State, who beat Duquesne in a close 985-973 game. The highlight of the tournament was a victory against Wichita State, where the Dukes finished just a point short of their season record with 1,044 pins. Prominent players were junior Maribeth Baker, who finished 18th place individually with 1,064 pins, and Emma Skursky, who finished with 994. The Dukes' next event will be the Duquesne Invitational at Mount Lebanon Lanes on the 30th of January.
After what Coach Dan Burt thought was a few good practices, the Duquesne women's basketball team welcomed the struggling George Washington to the Cooper Fieldhouse as they looked to end their brutal 5-game A-10 losing streak. George Washington used a big second-half run to beat Duquesne 59-45. Freshman guard Alexis Bordas led the Dukes with 20 points for the second straight game. At multiple points in the game, Bordas was the only one moving on the floor. Following the game, an extremely disappointed Coach Burt said, "That was an incredibly poor performance from everyone within our program, from coaches, the head coach, to the coaching staff, to the players. And we're probably what you would consider a broken team at this point." Following this game, things didn't get much better. On Sunday, the Dukes made the trip up to Rhode Island for a matchup with the number 1 team in the A-10. Rhode Island handed the Dukes a 70-50 defeat, extending the skid to 0-7 in Atlantic 10 play. Duquesne led 15-3 after one quarter and trailed just 26-23 at halftime behind early threes from Fatou Sané and Mackenzie Blackford. But the Rams ramped up the defense pressure in the second half, forcing 12 turnovers, including 10 in the third, to fuel a game-breaking run. In the third quarter, Bordas suffered an ugly ankle injury that sidelined her for the rest of the game. Looking to rebound and finally end the streak, Duquesne welcomed another struggling team to the Cooper Fieldhouse. In this game, Dayton used a dominant first-quarter blitz to hand Duquesne women's basketball a 75-58 loss last night, dropping the Dukes to 7-12 overall and 0-8 in Atlantic 10 play. The Flyers opened on a 15-0 run and led 39-18 at halftime, leaving Duquesne with almost no chance to come back. Freshman guard Alexis Bordas returned from injury and led Duquesne with a game-high 16 points, adding 6 rebounds and 2 steals, and went a perfect 7 for 7 at the free throw line. Duquesne also received quality minutes off the bench in the form of Dunya Zesevic and Maya Rakul. The Dukes will be back in action this Saturday when they face St. Joe's at 12 o'clock in the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse.
Duquesne men's basketball snapped a 3-game losing streak on Saturday with a 74-63 win over Fordham at the Rose Hill Gym in the Bronx. The Dukes improved to a 10-8 overall record and a 2-3 record in A-10 play. Duquesne never trailed in this one, opening up with a 20-7 lead in the first 9 minutes and taking a 30-27 lead into halftime. A key 8-0 run in the late second half pushed the margin back to double digits at 55-43, highlighted by junior guard Jimmy Williams scoring in transition and layups from John Hughley IV and Cam Crawford. Williams led all scorers with 19 points, including 14 in the second, while adding 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 7 of 12 shooting. Next up for the Dukes was a home battle with nationally ranked St. Louis. The Billikens beat Duquesne 81-77 to remain undefeated in conference play. Duquesne trailed 40-38 at halftime and then fell behind as many as 17. Junior guard Jimmy Williams led all scorers with a career-high 28 points to go with 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals, powering a 12-3 Duquesne response that cut the deficit to 60-54 with just under 10 minutes remaining. In the final minute, the Dukes trailed 78-70 when Terrence Ginyard hit 2 free throws, Williams buried a 3, and David Dixon slammed a home dunk after St. Louis turnover made the score 78-77 with 28 seconds left. After 2 free throws gave St. Louis a 3-point lead, Duquesne missed a 3 on the other end, allowing the Billikens to avoid the upset. Next for Duquesne is a trip to Illinois, where they will face Loyola Chicago this Saturday at 2 p.m. Now, let's head over to Betsy Bodwin with this week's weather.
Thanks, guys. Now the weather this week, we're starting out on Friday, partially cloudy with a high of 24 and a low of 2. Saturday, it's going to be a 50% chance of snow with a high of 12 and a low of -1. So if you don't already have the hats and the mittens out, I highly recommend having them out for Saturday. And then Sunday, 95% chance of rain and snow with a high of 28 and a low of 12. Now on to Monday, partially cloudy with a high of 25 and a low of 6. Tuesday, it's going to be partially cloudy, high of 17, low of 1. Wednesday, there's going to be a 50% chance of snow, high of 29 and low of 11. And Thursday, it's going to be cloudy with a high of 13 and a low of 7. Now moving on to our friends in Rome. Start out, lots of rain this week, high of 56 and a low of 40 for Friday. Saturday, 100% chance of rain, high of 59 and low of 49. Sunday, a 95% chance of rain with a high of 53 and a low of 44. Moving on to Monday, 65% chance of rain, high of 51, low of 41. And 40% chance of rain on Tuesday with a high of 54 and a low of 36. Then on Wednesday, there's a 70% chance of thunder and high of 56, low of 48. Then moving on to Thursday, there's a 60% chance of thunderstorms and a high of 55 and a low of 47. Now to Dublin, a lot of rain for them as well. We're going to start out on Friday with a high of 47 and a low of 37 with an 80% chance of rain. And Saturday again, 80% chance of rain, high of 45, low of 38. Sunday, another day of 80% chance of rain, high of 45, low of 38. Then moving on to Monday, 70% chance of rain, high of 48, low of 43. Then Tuesday, there's going to be an 85% chance of rain, high of 46, low of 40. Wednesday, it's going to be just cloudy, no rain today, high of 48 and a low of 50. And then on Thursday, there's going to be an 80% chance of rain with a high of 48 and a low of 43. Back to you guys. The annual 3v3 MLK Day basketball tournament took place this past Monday on the 4th floor of the Power Center. 6 teams of 3 took part in the tournament. Each game was half court and included 2 10-minute halves with a running clock. The tournament was double elimination, giving each team a second chance. Freshman and participant Andrew Murphy said, "The tournament was very fun and well organized. It was also super competitive. It was nice to get a chance to play in a tournament."
Last week, the FBI released information on the collegiate point shaving scandal in men's basketball. The investigation mentioned Duquesne University. Our Brendan Flato sat down to discover more of what this means.
The college basketball world was flipped upside down this morning by the indictment released coming out of Philadelphia. The indictment details the 20 individuals who are being charged on one count of bribery in sporting contests and conspiracy to commit wire fraud, along with 3 counts of wire fraud. I am now joined with Jack Morgan, the Duquesne beat reporter for A10 Talk. Jack, what do you know about the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a couple of situations where other A10 teams are involved, but let's talk directly about Duquesne. Duquesne was more so indirectly involved in this. I wouldn't say they're the victim because, as we're going to get into, it was actually these teams trying to tank to lose these games. Here's more on the specifics. Duquesne versus St. Louis at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, February 20th, 2024. Duquesne was favored by over St. Louis by approximately 5 points in first half spread by most sports books in the United States and elsewhere. So before this game, and this is directly from the indictment paper, so I'm not making anything up here. This is actually what is said. For this game, fixers, including Marvis Farrelly and Roderick Winkler, and other acting at their direction, placed wagers with various sports books totaling at least approximately $242,000 on Duquesne to cover the first half spread. In the process of fixing this game and placing these wagers, defendant Farrelly and other fixers communicated via text about the game and wagers. For example, on or about the date of the Duquesne game, defendant Farrelly texted a straw bettor, Duquesne first half, bet it. So, on that day of the game, another defendant, and this is the actual player for St. Louis, his name is Bradley Azuero, and Azuero, if you're wondering why he matters in this, other than him being the defendant here, there's a reason they picked him. He appeared in 22 games while starting 21 for St. Louis in the 1 year he spent there. He averaged 12 points and 6.2 rebounds. So there's a reason they went to him. Now, on to that. Duquesne actually did outscore St. Louis 41-27. So if you remember, the line was 5 points. They hit that. So the Fixers won their bets. Without the St. Louis players intentionally underperforming in the second half of the game, St. Louis actually played substantially better. They outscored Duquesne that second half 40-39. Duquesne did win that game 80-67. However, that does not matter in this case because they only bet the first half. So now, on to the second part, and perhaps the more wild part of this story, in my opinion, is the Duquesne-Fordham game, and this was 3 days later. So in an entire week, Duquesne had 2 games against teams who had players who were being bet on, abiding in this betting scandal, rather. So, Elijah Gray and his teammates who played for Fordham, it's not confirmed who this teammate is, it's only called person number 4. They attempted to underperform and influence the game as they agreed. Now, both players scored fewer points than their season averages, with Gray scoring 3 points. Now, another caveat to the story, if you were on Twitter, you probably see someone named Ode Gray Sr. that is actually in every one of these comment sections actually pleading his case for his son, saying his son would never do a thing. So if you go on Twitter, A10 Twitter, you're probably going to see him. But that's kind of the wild part of the story because in this game, Duquesne outscored Fordham 32-26 in the first half. But Fordham came back in the second half and won that game 79-67. So this meant that the Fixers who wagered on Duquesne for the full game lost their bets. They were supposed to have Duquesne win. However, here's where it gets wilder. Shortly after the game, defendant Jalen Smith and Elijah Gray, the player, communicated via text concerning the efforts of Gray and person number 4 to fix the game and the failure of the scheme to succeed. Gray told the defendant Smith, "I tried," and noted that the Duquesne players were, quote, not hooping, end quote, or played poorly, making it harder for Duquesne to cover the spread. Defendant Smith told Gray, quote, "You did your job for sure," end quote, and bemoaned the fact that another Fordham player who was not involved in the scheme had an excellent game. Now, that's a stats up on your screen, and Brendan, just give me one guess who you think that one player they were talking about was. You're going to go with Rose, right?
Yeah.
And this is the crazy part about this, is that Duquesne actually was not a victim in either of these, right? They were trying to have Duquesne win. However, they succeeded the first time, but failed the second time. So this story is crazy, and there's a lot of others like it. I want to give you one that I just saw, and I do think is pretty crazy, and it comes out of DePaul. And this quote is something that I think is a huge alarm for the entire NCAA. During the game on or about March 5th, 2024, defendant Jalen Smith texted Macabre Etienne to complain that one of the players who was not involved in the point-shaving scheme for DePaul needed to chill the, I can't say the other word, but out. Etienne texted Smith back during the game and assured him that the DePaul players involved in the scheme were keeping the ball away from the player and preventing him from scoring. Defendant Smith responded that if Etienne and the other DePaul players kept to the plan, the bag, or bribe payments, would be on the way. Brendan, this is a huge issue with the NCAA. It's not just 1 or 2 games, as we might have thought when the Elijah Gray thing came out. This is wide scale.
And we're seeing it affect Duquesne, but let's be clear here. Duquesne is more of a victim in this, as their name is associated because they were a part of the games being played. They weren't the ones rigging the games, so no fear as a Duquesne fan. They did not do anything wrong, as it's being reported right now on Thursday, January 15th. We're about 1:05 p.m. Local time here. As we know, up to this point, Duquesne did not do anything wrong in this indictment. They are just mentioned because they were the team being played against when Fordham and St. Louis made these bets or were gambling, rigging these games. Yeah, and Jack, you report for the A10 Talk. Obviously, you're a beat reporter for Duquesne specifically, but the A10 Talk covers, obviously, all the teams. So you know a lot about different teams. We also saw LaSalle University mentioned in this. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they were included?
Yeah, LaSalle was in a game against St. Bonaventure. This, actually, I do need to confirm the exact date. However, this was around the same time as the Duke. It was in the same week. I can tell you that for sure. That was the same week that Duquesne and St. Louis and Duquesne and Fordham were being bet on. So this was a wild week for the A10 unironically. And the way it is mentioned and the language in that is basically that they try to, the fixers, the defendants in this situation, tried to get LaSalle players. They tried to recruit LaSalle players to fix a game between LaSalle and St. Bonaventure. It did not happen. They did not, whether they got them or not, that bet did not hit. The spread, obviously betting on LaSalle to lose, it did not hit. So clearly, I think what people are saying is that they did not get any LaSalle players to willingly fix the games. And I think that also does give a lot of credit, dude. Fran Dunphy is a great coach, so I'm sure he's been with that program. Yeah, exactly. I think we were talking about it before this. I don't think it would. There was a lot of doubt that a team coached by Fran Dunphy would have any involvement in this in a direct manner. Listen, I think obviously there are a lot of punchlines to come out of this, and some of the stories, it's so unbelievable you have to laugh. I think the DePaul one for me was, it's so ridiculous. A guy is on the phone at halftime, or not even at halftime, in the middle of the game, texting a guy that he's fixing a game with. And that is just unbelievable to me. But it's so crazy and ridiculous, you sometimes laugh, but it's a very serious thing for the NCAA, and they got to figure this out, because if this happens again, I mean, you've already lost a lot of credibility and trust, not just in your players for having a fair, respectful game. You lost trust in your referees. And we know that a lot of referee hate and kind of just yelling at the referees is happening in every single game now. So now referees are at a minimum, because no one wants to grow up to be a referee and just get yelled at for the rest of the game, right? It's just a trickle-down effect that needs to be nipped in the bud. But I don't know how much of this bleeding you can stop if you're the NCAA, man. It's bad.
If you would like to stay up to date, you can follow Jack on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Yep. What's your handle?
On Twitter at Jack on the call. I'll be continuing to monitor this throughout the rest of the day, guys.
So follow Jack there to keep up to date with everything that's going on. You can also check out A10 Talk where Jack writes for. I'm sure that you guys will have some content coming out about this.
For sure.
But now we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Brendan. Young Life is looking for new members. The group meets on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. in College Hall to discuss Bible verses as well as get together as a community. The Duquesne Young Life group is part of a bigger organization that helps students from middle school to college dive deeper into their faith. Team leader Kayla Wogan said a lot of students have questions about their faith, and it's fun to hear different perspectives and questions about the Bible and Christianity as a whole. As well as answering questions about someone's faith, another big goal of the club is to make a welcome community. Club member Carly Ennick said that her favorite part of the club is the friends she made there. So if you have any interest in learning more about your faith and joining a tight-knit community, Young Life Club is for you.
This past weekend, Duquesne Student Television set the Duquesne University record for longest live stream while streaming for 48 straight hours. DSTV President Jack Morgan opened and closed the stream with a speech. In his opening statement, Jack said, "Let me just say this. I genuinely don't know how the heck we are going to do this. I've done 10-hour streams with Nick over the last year, but this is nothing compared to that." Jack, along with Nick and Carlos Santiago Torres, remained on camera for a majority of the 48 hours, while Will McDonald, Jason Obremski, and Brendan Flato made guest appearances and took turns producing the show. The live stream consisted of video games, live sports commentary, card games, and much more. To watch different parts of the record-breaking stream, visit the Duquesne Student Television YouTube channel at Duquesne TV.
Duquesne's SGA had their first meeting of the spring semester last Thursday. The meeting focused on the broader view of SGA's plans for this upcoming semester. The SGA looked forward to MLK Unity Week and Christian Unity Week and the schedule for those events. MLK Week has been going on throughout this week, featuring a campaign project, discussion about rights, the Unity Walk, a luncheon, and look forward to Black History Month. Duquesne has begun their search for the next provost, with Provost Dossie becoming the president this summer. The SGA talked about Ken Gormley's going away party, as well as the SGA elections on March 18th and the inauguration on April 8th. To finish off, there were discussions about issues with mobile orders at Chick-fil-A, transportation issues, and dorm AC problems. The meeting was a positive one overall, and the SGA looks forward to an exciting second semester.
Are you new to the city or just not well versed with how to get around the city? Well, good for you, 2 of our reporters decided to take on the challenge to help you better navigate the city.
Hi, I'm Kylie.
I'm Halen. And so we realized that a lot of people aren't using public transportation because they don't know where to find certain stops.
So we're going to show you some stops that are actually really close to campus and really easily accessible. Let's go.
Starting off strong, a frigid walk, but don't worry, we'll go on the cold walk just for you guys. Eventually we saw the ring and knew we were close. It was a blessing.
Alright, so we are on Forbes Avenue, right in front of Rockwell. Here is one bus stop, accessible basically on campus. If you ever need to take the bus, there's one bus stop right there. That's Rockwell.
After that bus stop, we went on our way to our next destination, the T. It's at 6th Avenue.
Alright, we made it to the T. We're inside. We're not gonna get on the T because we don't have anywhere to go, but it's right here. It's maybe like a 15-minute walk from campus, so there's also, this is an option.
And here's a map of the places that the T stops at. And here is some important information, including the Ready to Ride app where you can get your tickets. And there she is. After that, we made it to our next bus stop.
We are here in front of another bus stop. We're in front of PPG Paints. In case you can't see it, it's huge behind me. We're at another bus stop. It's right in front of PPG Paints, which is also not too far from campus.
So if you're coming back from Oakland, this is a stop that usually I would get off at, because you just go up this hill and you go past the bookstore and yep, you're there.
Perfect. Super close.
So after that bus stop, we went to the next bus stop on our list, which is actually super close because the Cooper Fieldhouse and PPG Paints really aren't that far away, especially if you're walking. It's not too bad.
Okay, we've made it to our final destination. We are right in front of the UPMC Cooper Field House, right there. So this is on campus, real close. Here's the bus stop. We're Forbes Avenue once again. So the one by Rockwell's just down the road. But yeah, lots of options. So now you see a few of the many public transportation stops right near campus. So next time you gotta go somewhere or come back, you know where to go, and you have more options other than an expensive Uber or walking in the freezing cold.
I'm Halen.
And I'm Kylie from the Voice of Duquesne Live, signing off. Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. The Student Spring Expo started this week on Tuesday, and its final day is tomorrow. You can find campus resources, meet student organizations, snag cool giveaways, and discover opportunities you didn't even know existed. No matter if you just walk through or stop and stay a while, you'll get something out of it. This is one of the best ways to discover all that Duquesne can offer you. Take this chance as a moment to get involved and expand your horizons. Be sure to stop by if you haven't. The expo will be on the Student Union, floors 2 and 3, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yinzer Night was hosted in Towers NPR on Monday. Our Madeline Grolman was there to see what it's all about.
Hi, this is Madeline Groman from the Voice of Duquesne Live. Tonight we're at Towers NPR. Let's go check out Yinzer Night. Students filled the Towers multipurpose room Friday night for Yinzer Night, a Pittsburgh-themed trivia event hosted by the Office of Resident and Housing Life. The event gave students a chance to celebrate local culture while also connecting with others in their residence community. Teams worked together to answer trivia questions centered on Pittsburgh history, sports, and traditions. Between rounds, students enjoyed classic local snacks such as pierogies, smiley cookies, and Pittsburgh popcorn. We talked to one of the workers of the event, Connor Bacca, and asked him, how do events like this help students feel more connected to Duquesne and the city of Pittsburgh? And he said,
So Duquesne is trying to get more involved with the community. It's always been a, staple of Pittsburgh, and we wanted to, show that with the students, that Pittsburgh and Duquesne are not separate things, but instead one and the same. And what better way to show it than a Pittsburgh trivia night, where the prizes are all local Pittsburgh shops and restaurants and things like that, so people can, enjoy more of the Pittsburgh nightlife.
We also asked him what inspired this Yinzer-themed night, and he said,
So, among Duquesne students, there's a lot of people who might be interested in competitive game night or an opportunity for connecting with their RAs. There's a lot of different opportunities here, and so Res Life is hosting this event so that RAs, I see a couple of teams in there where RAs are teaming up with some of their residents to kind of, build up a little bit more of a cohesion. There's students pairing with students they might not have ever met to kind of, get to meet and connect with new people. There's all sorts of different ways here where we're just basically trying to get people who like Pittsburgh, like trivia, and just like Duquesne to all come together and enjoy a wonderful event.
Events like Yinzer Night help reflect Residence Life's broader mission to build community and school spirit across campus. With trivia, food, and prizes bringing students together, the nights serve as a reminder that campus life goes far beyond the classroom. This is Madeline Groman signing out from the Voice of Duquesne Live. Check campus link for more fun activities around campus. With upcoming Greek life recruitment, our Morgan Carr has sat down with Carly Hill to gather all the information you need to have a successful week.
Thanks, guys. And today I'm here with Carly Hill, who is the Assistant Director of the Office of Greek Life, here to talk about all things recruitment. So thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so obviously this is a really big week coming up for Greek Life organizations. What is kind of the benefit of being in a Greek Life?
Oh my gosh, there's so many benefits. So January is our prime time of the year because first years are allowed to join these groups once they get a semester under their belt. And I think there's so many benefits. Being Greek myself, I went to school 15 hours away in Florida, and it helped me personally kind of find my little niche in school and find a group of people. So I think that's like the big benefit from them is that we have so many of them, right? We have 8 sororities, social sororities, 7 social fraternities specifically. So there really are different they all have different personalities. So it's really easy for someone to be able to find like the avenue of a place that kind of is whatever they need and people that value the same thing or have the same interests. And And so I think it's so beneficial, not only in school, all of our groups perform really, really well academically. It's very rare if their cumulative GPA is under a 3.0, and we do a lot of comparisons with like the average undergraduate GPA, and they're always very competitive. They're either at there or even above them. So like that's great to see because, right, we're here for school. So benefit is a lot of sticking to academics and support with that, right, too. It gives you a group of people that you can find, maybe someone older that has had the professor that you're struggling with maybe, or can give you some advice, or just doing study groups and things like that. Gets you out into the community. A lot of them do a lot of different things, not only on Duquesne's campus, but outer in the city. We have some fraternities that go do like pierogi making at a local church, so it's getting them, not only Duquesne's name out there, but getting them exposed to helping the community and helping the community that they specifically live in, whether it's Duquesne or the city. And connections is the biggest thing, right? I think connecting on campus, if you happen to know someone that maybe had a fraternity brother in class or whatnot, that can maybe help you look for an internship in the summer, something like that. Or just the scale in general benefiting postgraduate. Duquesne specifically has really loyal alumni, but our Greek alumni are very, very active, and they are very willing to give back and be involved. So that just opens doors, a plethora of doors for people to be connected, whether they were in your group or not. I think people have like a sense of loyalty, because, right, you have like the same experiences and stuff. So benefits of that, right, like even if they're not in the same fraternity, but if you know someone, or if they see on your resume that they're Greek, that's a starting point to be able to talk about, because they know, hey, they probably did philanthropy work. They were probably good in school. They did a lot of good academic and service hours. So it not only benefits you now to kind of help you get through school and get involved, but also literally lifelong, because you always can find connections in that aspect.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is the reason a lot of people go into it.
Yeah.
And it helps people thinking about doing recruitment. But what would you say to someone who is still kind of on the fence about doing recruitment in general?
Oh my gosh. It's definitely really intimidating, right? Fraternity men and sorority women do things very, very differently, which I think it works. Men tend to be a little bit more laid back of like, hey, come to this event, we're having an open like pizza night, and then they maybe do more serious like interviews and stuff like that are invite only. And the sorority women have a little bit more structured, and it can be kind of intense, right? You're walking into a group of literally a classroom of 40, 50 girls that probably already know your name because like you're lined up and stuff like that. So it can be intimidating. But the good thing is everyone around you is going through the same thing, right? And everyone's experiencing it as well first. My biggest advice for people that like are on the edge of it is just do it. Because, right, if you get in one day and you're like, this isn't for me, okay, you're no worse off. If you go through the entire thing and decide, nah, I'm not going to join, you're still in the same position. Heck, you can even somewhat join a group in a couple weeks in if you're like, this really isn't for me. Like, there's like no harm, no foul. But the biggest thing is you'll never know if you don't try. And you find, even with that, you find a lot that you might meet people that even if someone joins or both of you join or neither of you join, you might find a connection that you can also have like later. So I think it's a great opportunity to just meet people, have a fun weekend, to be able to hang out and meet a lot. Like I said, you get exposed to so many people that you never would have known or have even met. So if you're on the fence, what's the worst thing? You maybe spend a weekend, talking to people or a night or two talking to people. But again, you never know like what come up with it, whether you join or not. You get to just meet a lot of new people.
Yeah, and what other advice do you have for those who are going through recruitment?
Oh my gosh. It can be overwhelming. Women especially, I tell them to eat and drink because the rounds are really long. But just in general, right, I think, and it's really, really cliche, is to like be yourself. I think it's easy to get caught up in, oh my gosh, I have to act a certain way, or I have to be very proper, or I have to do whatever, or, like these guys are really into basketball. It's not my favorite, but it's a point of conversation, so let me talk about it. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm a big component is that like things work out the way that they're supposed to, and that's for both men and women. And so if you be yourself and you have like good, authentic conversations, like things work out, and you go like you're able to find the group of people that you're supposed to be with if you do it kind of like hand in hand and you like trust the process. So biggest thing is, like I said, cliche, but just be yourself and have like good authentic conversations and look for, find people that value maybe the same, like have good conversations so that you can figure out, oh, they value academics or they value, this specific type of philanthropy work that I'm really into. And that'll help you kind of get through and figure out, what group maybe would be like the better fit.
And this will really help them, I think, getting through it. But other than that, how should someone who's going through recruitment kind of stay up to date on all of the information, the rounds, stuff like that?
Oh my gosh, so many different avenues. It sounds really weird, but we use Instagram and like social media a lot, which I feel like is just sometimes weird to say. My office has a social media. It's Duquesne Greeks. We do a lot of reposting or just do a lot of our own, like, hey, this is coming up. Our panel and a counselor, who's the council that oversees, like, specifically the women, does a lot of promoting and things like that. We try to stay up to date about, like the rush schedules for the fraternities specifically. We try to repost and all of that. We try to encourage them to put it on Campus Link because then that gets in the email blast. So, like, the weekly emails that students get about stuff that's coming up, that information's in there. I always tell people at the the expo is happening right now as we speak, and this week. So, like, a lot of them are tabling out there, so there's always people to talk to. But I always tell people, like, when in doubt, my office, like this Greek Life office is on the 3rd floor of the Union. Literally, you can walk in and we answer questions that aren't even Greek Life, but like you can walk in and we will answer like literally any questions that you have. We have the schedules, we have stuff to be able to ping out. So we try to hit people like social media wise, and then also just try to be like physically present for people to stop by.
Yeah. And now kind of a general, like, what does recruitment look like for sororities and fraternities this upcoming week?
Such an interesting question. I'll start with the most simple, which is fraternities. The kind of kickoff, is just a very general, like, meet the fraternities, which is tonight, Wednesday, in the ballroom, which basically they all have tables. It's real casual and people can kind of just come and just casually kind of talk to different tables. And it's an opportunity for all of the fraternities to be in one room so that people can get to meet all of them. And then also all the fraternities separately have kind of their different schedules of, hey, Monday we're doing pizza at Milano's, Tuesday we're maybe doing this. And then typically throughout the week it gets a little bit more like smaller stuff, and then their last one might be like an invite only. A lot of them are open invite, you can come if you want. And then kind of towards the end they go more invite only. They might do like more interviews to get to know you a little bit better, and then they give out bids. The sorority process specifically, people sign up, which they can sign up until next Tuesday, which I believe is the 27th. We have a just general open meet the sororities on Monday the 26th, which that's no pressure. You can go if you want. If not, again, it's another opportunity for them to all be in the room together and you can kind of mingle. You sign up. We have a recruitment link literally in everyone's bio of Instagram. I think we have flyers up. My office could give it to you. We have kind of the link plastered everywhere that you put in your information, register, and you can get a t-shirt and stuff like that you'll wear the first round. But Tuesday we have a night of, we call it orientation. You get your t-shirt. You get put on, like, you'll be put into like groups that you'll move around to the different sororities. Will tell you kind of like, hey, this is what the week is going to look like. And then every day, like the first day you get to meet all 8, and then every day it kind of structures down to where you might be left with like 1 or 2 sororities. And then from there, you get to pick, you get to put a preference in, and then if it's a mutual match, you guys will do bid night, which you get to open up a card and say, oh, you're a member of so-and-so sorority, and then we do a huge bid night in the ballroom, which is really fun. Everyone does different themes. And we have like the new pledge class is run down from the top of the stairs in the ballroom, which is always like really fun. It's always really loud. My ears literally ring for like hours after. So it's fun to see that because it's some long hours. They do recruitment rounds from Wednesday all the way till Sunday morning, where they meet literally every single one of the 200 plus girls. And it goes, like I said, you get to meet all of them and it goes down every day. So midnight's always a really fun night because like I feel like everyone feels the crash at the end. Everyone's like really tired at the end, but it's really exciting to see how long, that week is really long, but then everyone's just so excited to get new people and add people to their communities. So definitely a little crazy, but it's like worth it at the end. And like I said, it's worth going through and experiencing it for what it is.
It's a really exciting week coming up. And so, what is something that you just want everyone to know about Greek life here at Duquesne?
Oh my gosh. Our Greeks contribute so much to the community, whether it's actually the community service or academically. Our population, specifically just the socials, take up around, depending on the year in enrollment, like 20 to 25% of the campus population. So that's a healthy bit of the population that's associated. And so normally, if you look around, I can usually spot some sort of Greek or some sort of letter, and that's also professional and honor societies as well. A lot of our schools have their own professional groups that are, maybe specifically for pharmacy majors or business majors and whatnot. So it's really nice because Greek life here specifically, you can really find a niche for everything. Like I said, if you want to, I have people that do both social and professional. You can really find an avenue that's exactly what you want, but you just have to go and look. You have to go and do a little bit of the work to look for it. But I think it's so beneficial. Like I said, they're so involved, and it can open up a tremendous amount of doors on campus. Like I know some students that started in Greek life and then they got into orientation, and then, they ended up taking a trip with some faculty to Africa. It can, if you do it correctly and you're open to anything, it can really open up a lot of doors and a lot of experiences. So I think it's really, really beneficial here because you get to really just meet a lot of people and a lot of professional staff, and Duquesne professional staff is amazing because they want nothing but the best for Duquesne students, and it's really great to work with people like that. So I think Duquesne, Greek life here at Duquesne is really, really special in that aspect. So that's why I'm always telling people, go through, because it could open doors that you wouldn't even think. You wouldn't even think that you would have been in that position, maybe 4 years prior to that. But it can really be life-changing if you're open to it and, willing to just put your feet on the ground and run. So, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for being here today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And make sure you stay tuned on all of their social medias to stay up to date with the next week. Now back to you guys.
Thank you, Morgan. Now from Provost Dossie's Academic Insights. Register for upcoming Ed Tech training on January 27th from 9:45 to 10:45 a.m. This will focus on utilizing the Canvas gradebook features. Check out these upcoming events at Gumberg Library. From Darkness to Light, Mosaics of Healing and Hope, January 9th to March 31st in the Gumberg Library Popular Reading Room. Introduction to Covenants webinar, January 29th from 3 to 4. The new Duke Search, February 4th, 2 to 3 on the 5th floor of Gumberg's Library. Video resources for your classroom and course site, February 12th, noon to 12:45. Access Medicine and More, February 5th, noon to 1. And LWW Health Library, Ackland and Bates, Omai, February 11th, noon to 1. Consulting sessions at the University Writing Center will begin today and will continue through the last day of classes on April 28th. Both face-to-face and online appointments are available. Please announce the opening of the Writing Center to your classes and encourage students to visit. Student and faculty can make appointments and see the center's spring hours on the Writing Center's website.
Duquesne faculty are invited to join U.S. and Israeli experts in legal, forensic science, and behavioral health as they examine the forensic and legal issues related to the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, including forensic identification, war crimes documentation, and the impact on survivors and families. The webinar will be held on January 29th from 8:45 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. PA, CLE, and coroner's education credits are available. Hosted by the Cyril H. Wecht Institute of Forensic Science and Law in partnership with Stand With Us. The Muldoon Building has been renamed to the Center for Integrative Health. This change reflects the Center for Integrative Health's growing impact on our campus and throughout the Pittsburgh community, as well as Duquesne's continued commitment to advancing mission-centered integrative health initiatives. It provides collaborative work and office space for the university's Center for Integrative Health staff and houses the university's Center for Pharmacy Care on its first floor. Together, these centers have been instrumental in advancing Duquesne's Catholic-spirited mission by developing disease prevention and wellness programming for our campus community and the greater Pittsburgh region. I am Betsy Bodwin.
And I'm Madeline Grolman. We hope to see you next Thursday.